So our facilitator for today is Mr. Oluwatosin Ajide, and he currently works as a partnership and programs lead at the Nigeria Climate Innovation Center, NCIC. Mr. Oluwatosin also doubled as the country lead for the Climate Launchpad competition, the largest climate competition in the world with over 55 countries participating yearly. His main areas of expertise revolve around programs, partnership, monitoring and evaluation, innovation, governance, policy review, and capacity building. He also holds a BSc in economics and an MBA from Quantic School of Business and Technology. Right now, it's going to be an amazing session, and I want us to, put hands together, even though we can only do this virtually, but you make use of the reactions, you can put it in the chat box as this is time for us to hear from our facilitator for today. And right now I'm going to be bringing him up. So thanks so much, everyone. You have the floor right now, Mr. Oluwatosin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, good morning, everyone. And I'm so glad to be here this morning. Uh, when I heard that I was going to be speaking at this great event, I was quite impressed with the number of people that will be listening to this because the topic that was being selected is quite important. And I'm glad that, I could be here this morning. Um, My topic this morning is quite broad and deep, but I have a few minutes and I hope I'll be able to, try as much as possible to help you understand your role in implementing, you know, policies. Everybody always say, it's government, what can I do as a youth? But again, today we'll be talking briefly on that. I also saw some topics that will be discussed probably before me, maybe yesterday or after me. And I can say that a lot of it has, from review of policy, overview of national climate policy, and all different good topics, that can help um, the conversation for today. But my own topic for today is just to help you understand your role, the role of youth engagement in policy implementation. And I really want to thank the organizers for bringing me to share one or two, knowledge and ideas that I've had in the past few years with you guys this morning. So thank you all for having me. Um, I'll be sharing my screen, which will help me to, you know, do quite justice to today's topic. Can someone confirm that they can see my screen?
Yes, we
Hello,
can.
can anybody come? Okay, all right. Thank you so much. All right, so like I said, today's topic is just to help you understand your role. And my role also, I believe I'm still a youth, so I've been playing my part, I mean, in my own little way, but I can't do it alone, climate change is quite broad and we all have a whole lot to do. And me playing my part, the organizers are playing their parts, even, you know, organizing this session or creating this session or creating this program alone is one of the major roles that you can play. So you being in this program already justifies or the roles of youth, in helping in engaging climate policy implementation, right? So these are some of the things we can do, but in the course of the presentation, we'll get more into that. Um, about me, I think the moderator has done quite justice to who I am. I lead the program and partnership for Nigerian Climate Innovation Center. You can check NCIC on different platforms. You can always reach out to us for different programs that you might probably fit into. I won't want to dwell on so much about me. If you need to probably reach out to me after the session, I'll probably drop my contacts, then you can connect and then you can get to know more about me. But for the meantime, let's just go straight into today's presentation because we have quite a lot of things to talk about and we have limited time and I also have a very tight schedule. And so we'll just go into it. I don't know, moderator, I don't know the full format? Are the participants allowed to, speak, or they have to drop it in the chat box? I just want to confirm so that I will know how to engage the participants.
Yeah, they can drop that chat in the chat box or make use of the Q&A for questions.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, what to expect today? We do a little bit of definition of, what climate change is, and then we'll just identify few policies that we have right now. I know there's one of the modules that will be covered during this program is an overview of some of these policies. I might not have time to dwell on or do a review really because that's not really the topic I was given. But I believe some of those policies will be, reviewed or probably give you an overview of it in the course of the program. But I will just speak briefly about some of these policies. Then I will dwell more on the role of youth policies. Then very, very important, I will talk about the importance of youth engagement in climate policy implementation. And this is just to let you understand the importance of why or the reason why youth need to be engaged. All right. Before we go deep into the session, I would like to I know many of the facilitators have asked this, but again, it's always good to ask just to be sure that we know what we're dealing with in the first place, right? Can anyone, few people just tell me what climate change is? So, like, I just want to understand if we understand what climate change is, because one beautiful thing about climate change is the more you learn, the more you get to see or get to know more about climate change. So, can we just have few people let me know what climate change is? Can you just drop it in the comments in the box? What is climate change? I just want simple definition. I've met different professors, different PhD holders that will give you, an overview that might be very deep into it. But I don't want something that deep. I just want very simple definition of what climate change is. So, wow, good. You guys are making my job easier today. Climate change is simply the shift in weather, correct change in weather activities, change in result of human activities. You guys are experts already. I don't even know why I'm here already. I can see we have experts here. You guys can easily do the job for me. Long shift of weather and patterns, grades, change in weather, accurate. All right. I'm so glad to see that we already have a good understanding of what climate change is, and you guys are experts and facilitators on your own right, your own rights. All right, activities on our environment, adverse change in weather condition, climate fast to long. All right. I'm seeing sometimes I might have to, I might not agree totally, but again, this is why we are on this platform. All right. I think I've seen enough. I think almost everybody that have dropped their idea of what climate change is all right to an extent. Uh, all right. Thank you so much for engaging. All right. So yes, uh, you've all defined climate change, and I think you made my work easier. I might not even have to, talk so much about climate changes. But I'll just give you a very, very brief or quick definition. It refers to long-term shift in Earth's weather patterns and temperature. This change can be natural. I will just dwell on this a little bit. I know everybody always make it sound like or make it obvious that climate change is caused by human activities, and yes, that is actually accurate. In fact, I'll say a long or a large extent is due to human activities, but I also want to put it that sometimes climate change can also be natural, it can also be natural effects. So let's say there is no human activities, there might also have been climate change. It might just be at a very, very slow rate, like extremely slow rate. But again, it could be natural. But the one we are experiencing right now on the globe is actually due to, or the majority of it is due to human activities. And what are these human activities? It can be burning of fossil fuels. I mean, you guys already know what that is. Deforestation, very important. In fact, I really, 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 really want to talk about a little bit about this. Deforestation um, is one of the major cause of climate change, right? We all know the importance of having, the forest and having trees around to help, absorb carbon dioxide, and that will be uh, released to the atmosphere. So deforestation is one major thing. And I think right from this moment, we should all play our role in seeing how we preserve our forests, preserve our natural habitats in a way that it doesn't affect, the forest and leads to deforestation. And also industrial processes, the big manufacturers, they are one of our big headaches, in as much as they're also doing their own good in their own rights, helping us providing several innovations, several smart technologies and all, but they're also, leaving some human effects that is causing climate change. So yeah, that is briefly what climate change is all about. And currently in Nigeria, we are experiencing significant shifts in weather patterns. I mean, a lot of us can testify to, the weather patterns. Sometimes we be like, we don't even know if we are following the weather patterns. Because before it used to be raining days, I mean, rainy season and dry season or harmattan season. But recently, we don't even know which is which anymore. Sometimes harmattan can come in February, March, you can see harmattan. These days, we see rain fall in December, in January, November. These days, we don't even know, the weather patterns we have right now is because, we have been experiencing climate change. All right. So some of the following things are climate-related challenges: rising temperature, right? Um, the heat can be crazy these days. Desertification, we have so many deserts right now because of climate change. We have experiencing, I mean, the Namibias and also some of the northern countries that we have, northern states we have in Nigeria are experiencing wider deserts and all. Flooding and coastal erosion, if you are living in Lagos like I do, and some other part of the countries, you would experience flooding and coastal erosion. In Lagos, I think around June or July, we experienced one of the worst, like a very, very bad flooding in the last probably 2 or 3 years. I was stuck in that flood for God knows how many hours. I didn't get home for almost like 6 to 7 hours. My car was held dent into the flood. So these are some of the effects of climate change. Um, I don't know if I should do this, but for our colleagues in the northern part of the country, the flooding in Maduguri right now, or in Bono, is not an effect of climate change. I just think I should say that because I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it, and I see a lot of activists talking about, this is climate change and all. Yes, some factor of it might be climate change, but the majority of it is not really for climate change. I just think I should put that out so that when you are reading about it in the news, you know that, okay, yes, there's climate change, but what is happening in Borno is not majorly because of climate change. It's due to the dam um, infrastructure that we have, the laughs that we have in Borno. It is not climate change. I just thought I should mention that. All right, I'll talk about deforestation, the impact on agriculture and livelihood. See, let me just state that the effect of climate change is huge, and I mean, we cannot exhaust it, right? I just put this here just to talk about the important ones and like the ones that is really affecting us right now. There is so many effects of climate change. Impact on agriculture and livelihood. I mean, increase in cost of food price. I know there are a lot of factors to it, inflation and all, but majority of it is also because of effect of climate change, because of the impact on agriculture, right? All right, now that we've, set uh, a little bit of background, a little bit of introduction to today's session and what climate change is all about, let's quickly dive into what are some of the policies that we have in Nigeria. And we have a lot of policies. I mean, some of them will probably have not been implemented. Some of them have, some of them are not even, probably out of it. Some of them are not functioning. Some of them have not been. But speak like few that have been in the news in the few years, and I think is I'll be some of this for the next few. The first I'll talk about is Nigeria climate change policy response and strategy. This aims to rebuild resilience to the impact of climate change, by promoting sustainability, energy, climate tech, agriculture, and green infrastructure. So what this policy is just talking about is that, climate change is here. We cannot do anything about it. We already have climate change. So what can we do? Like I always tell people, at this stage, we have to be very factual with ourselves. I'm a realist. I'm not part of the climate change activists and activists that will come and tell you that, oh, we can end climate change. We can come against climate change. Climate change will go forever. I'm not part of those people because except we align to ourselves, climate change is here to stay. Regardless of what we want to do, climate change is here to stay. We cannot fully 100% mitigate climate change. We can reduce our human activities that is causing climate change. We can do some things that will reduce it. I agree totally. But we cannot 100% mitigate climate change. That's the truth. If you remember from one of the things I said in the beginning, is that if climate change itself can be through natural causes. So something that is natural, how can you mitigate it, right? So some of the things are natural in climate change, so you cannot mitigate it fully. And some of the human activities too, you cannot 100% mitigate it. So I will not come here and tell you that, oh, can we mitigate climate change? Or can we, 100% of climate change and all? But the truth is, or we are being realistic, is no, right? But what we can do is to adapt and build resilience against it, right? So we need to can adapt to it. And why in most of the European countries, you always hear adaptation and resilience, right? And that is what this policy is all about. Helping build resilience through infrastructure, right? Building green infrastructure and, using those infrastructure to build resilience. And building resilience just means that climate change is there, but how can we resist it to an aspect that to reduce the impact on us, impute the impact on your environment, reduce the impact on the heart, right? So that is what this policy is all about. It talks about our response, the responses, and the response is to build resilience. So that is what this policy is all about. About the implementation, well, I always try to, to not talk about the bad part of so many things, but focus on the strength. Quite a number of infrastructures and some of funding have been released for this policy, but I still believe that there is a lot that could be done. The government needs to intensify the the infrastructure that is being built for it. So, um, in my session today, I won't be able to dive into the deep and the what has been done so far, what has been achieved because it's not really what I'm meant to do today. I'm meant to help you understand your role. So I'll just move on to the next one, which is the nationally determined contribution, NDC. This one is popular. Probably, I think it's the most popular or the most known policy in the climate space. If you've not heard about this, then probably you've not done your research or you've not read so much about the climate change space in Nigeria. NDC is very, very popular. High NDC. I mean, you'll probably be hearing it. And it came from the Paris Agreement. During the Paris Agreement, the countries came together and say, okay, you know what? We're talking about climate change, but we need you to make a pledge. We need you to tell us what you're going to do. We need you to come together and say this is what you're going to do as a country to, help reduce the greenhouse emission. And Nigeria was not left out, as the supposed giant of Africa, we have to, set the tone. So we also there, we gave our pledge and we say, you know what, as a country, we are going to reduce the greenhouse emission by 20% by 2030. So what this is saying is that by 2030, we'll have reduced the greenhouse emission that we have in Nigeria by 20%. There have been some debates, 20% is small, as a country, we can do more. But again, let's just start, 20% might look too small, but again, it's huge. If we can do that from our own hand, and other countries does theirs also, it's a plus to us. And also up to 45% with international support. So this also means that we'll be giving some other international support, but with 45% of what we've been able to reduce, right? So youth-led initiative in renewable energy afforestation can directly contribute to this target. So they're saying that in us achieving this policy, we have to, initiate a youth-led initiative. We can see they were even focused or they're even specific with the kind of initiative. It has to be youth-led, and that shows that you are important, I am important in achieving this. So whatever you're having now, you have to know that in Nigeria achieving this goal is both in our hands also. It's in government's hand, but it's also in our hands. We have to play our role because government is telling us that for us to achieve this, we have to support youth-led initiative in green, in renewable energy and afforestation, right? And also, other, I don't want to limit it, other sector, recycling, smart agriculture, water, and all. right? But it has to be youth-led. I'm just emphasizing on the youth-led so that you know that it is very important that you know that the role of youth um in this policy. Again, uh, there are some, has this been achieved? What is the progress so far? That is not my role today, but I believe maybe you can also read about it. I don't know if there is a provision for it in this program to have few people, do a review of it and tell you what has been achieved so far. Are we on the right path to achieving this that we said in 2020? That's what I'm going to do here today. But again, you can do it on your own, read about it, what have been done so far and for, right? And the last one I'm going to talk about is the National Youth Policy. Uh, this one is not necessarily just about, the climate release alone. It's about national youth policy itself. It was first, really drafted around 2009, 2010, but it was originally, established or original, it was eventually established or eventually, put into effect in 2019. Is in the Nigerian government's prioritize youth participation in youth development, and it includes climate action. And that's why I said it's not just solely climate. To it was to promote the youth in the country, right? It's not just climate, but again, including climate action. So the policy encourage youth involvement in climate change advocacy, decision making, and environmental sustainability projects, right? So again, if you notice all of this, I mean, the few ones I brought in shows how and tells us how these policies should be achieved through, decision making. Means that whatever decision that will be made, you should not be left out, right? And they should also support the environmental sustainability projects, which means we need to create project initiatives that can drive these policies. Right. The other policies, like I said in the beginning, but I just, because of time, I chose, and because this is not majorly what I'm going to talk about today, I just picked few of these policies so you know what policies looks like and the few we have, and we can know why it can be how it can be achieved. So quickly before we talk about the roles of the youth, can I just, ask us so that I know we are following or we have some knowledge about this? Can we just drop, in the chat box, what are some of the roles that you think youth can play? The truth is, we can't, it's inexhaustible, right? We have so many roles, but I'll probably speak on some of it later, but can we just drop it in the chat box, some of the roles that you think youth should play in implementing some of this policy? Let's just do that in like next 1 minute, 30 seconds. All right. Awareness, time education, leadership. I'm already in love with this group of people. You guys are already doing a lot, and I'm really glad, volunteering, public engagement, awareness, decision making shows that we are listening actually. Because if you actually listen to what I've said about this policy, you'll be able to, know, bring out some of these things I've just said. Definitely, community engagement, sensitizing people about application awareness, organizing movement. You guys are spot on. You guys are spot on. It just shows that you've done your research and you really, really, really put interest into climate change. And I really applaud every one of you for this. And I applaud the organizers too. These are good set of people. Wow, so much. In fact, I'm beginning to think that maybe I can hit the session because you guys already know a lot. It just shows that, probably in the course of the program, there's been a lot of things that have been spoken. All right. In fact, if all we do today is just read this chat box, is enough for today. A lot of information. Great, great, great. But yes. All right. But so that you not take my job from me as a facilitator, let me quickly talk about my own slide too. All right. So what are the roles of youth? You've mentioned almost everything on my slide, and I'm glad because it make my work easier, right? Uh, my slide is not changing. Uh, okay. All right, it has. So number one, I mean, like I said, it's inexhaustible, but I uh made a decision to just, specifically pick these three because for us to make hedgerow, these are the major three things that we can focus on. And focus on these three, we can help the government, implement this policy. Number one, advocacy and campaigns. Youth groups are meant to spearhead advocacy and campaigns. We have the energy, right? And I know that's one of the things many of us are involved in, right? Advocacy and campaign is very important. Sensitizing people about what climate change is. It's still unbelievable that a whole lot of people don't know what climate change is and how it affects them, right? So it is our role, it is our job, it is our duty as youth, as energized youth, to go out there to help advocate and campaign for what climate change is, and also to understand these policies and break it down during our advocacy, right? One of the reasons why some of these policies are not well implemented is because youths like me and you don't take time to understand this policy. If you take time to understand this policy, then we can even sense from the beginning that is this policy going to, achieve what the aim is meant to achieve? Is it going to do what it's meant to do? Does it capture everything that is meant to be captured? You know that sometimes that policies will be shared, though it's a good policy, though it makes sense, but it's not capturing everything. But how are we going to know that if we don't, read this policy? So our role is to read this policy and advocate and make campaigns. Let everybody knows, we have some fantastic um advocacy organization in Nigeria. Fridays for the Future of Nigeria is one. Susty Vibes is another one. CGP is one. Like, we have so many of them, and guess what? It's still not enough. We still need more and more and more, because we have about 200 million population in Nigeria. Just see how many we need to reach, right? So advocacy is one of the major role of the youth. We need to really, really advocate and make campaigns, right? Now I'll move to the next one. And this part is the part I really, really is the sector I play in, right? Innovation and entrepreneurship. Please, I always say this because many people don't used to say this, but I need to add this so that as we are going about advocacy, we need to have it at the back of our mind. The end goal of our advocacy and campaign should lead to either innovation or entrepreneurship. Because if it doesn't lead to any of these things, then we might not achieve much. Because innovation and entrepreneurship is going to what to eventually lead to some of these things happening, right? We need to see climate space. We need to see green space as a profitable space. People will not come into the space if it's not being profitable. They cannot see it as being profitable. I understand the space of CSR, we understand the space of advocacy, awareness, and all those things, but we cannot be sustainable if we don't make business out of climate change. We have to emphasize that this space is a business-oriented space. We can make profits from it. We can get employment from it. You can, create a whole lot of things. There's funding for it. You can invest in it. If we cannot, show this angle of climate change, then we'll have a lot of issues implementing some of these policies. Most of these policies requires a lot of funding, and nobody will put funding in a space they know is not profitable. So whatever advocacy you are making, we also let people to know that innovation and entrepreneurship should come into the space. We need to get people like you to get into the space, to start businesses, to start ideas, to start, startups company that can bring climate smart solutions that will help us curb, you know, greenhouse emission, right? Carbon dioxide. We need smart solutions, smart techs, and this cannot come into being without entrepreneurship and innovation. So it is very important as youth to know that your end goal is to help create either business out of this. It might not even be your own role. Yours can be advocacy. Yours can be awareness. Yours can be educating, right? But we should always create an end to end that as you are doing this, you are using your advocacy, your awareness to encourage someone somewhere to start a business, to start a green business, a climate tech business that can help curb this climate change, right? Another important one is technology. There is nothing we are doing if technology is not being involved. And I say that's because of the the space we are playing in. Technology role is to help accelerate and improve climate solution. We have a lot of climate solutions that we have right now. For some of us that might probably be in the in the space for, in the entrepreneurship space in the green sector, you can testify to the fact that many of our prototype or many of our products are not as refined or as good looking as it's meant to look like, and it's because of the fact that probably we don't have a infrastructure to create a fine looking, maybe gadgets or whatever it is that you have provided, right? So it is very important that we have technology that can help revamp and revolve this and improve and accelerate this climate solution. So my plot to us today is as you are doing awareness, doing whatever it is you do, take interest in technology. Every of these policy that government is creating needs technology to be leveraged on. If there's no technology for them to be leveraged on, it will be hard for them to implement it, right? So be proactive and have interest and invest in researching about technology. So when government gets to that stage that they need technology or advice or technology on how to implement some of this policy, you guys will be one of the few people or that will be, considered that will probably have put in the work and will use that work, to implement those policies because policies cannot be implemented on its own, right? The idea of policy is to have like a law or like a set of rules that is guiding the sector, right? But it's one thing to have those policies, one thing to implement them, and implementation requires a lot of technology. Let me run here because of time. Um, I don't know what slide has been freezing. All right. So, what is the importance of youth engagements in climate policy? Why do we need to involve youth? Why do government need to engage youth? Why are we important? Why should we take the lead? Why should we be in the meeting room? Why should we have a seat on the table? You know, COP is around the corner, right? And for some of us that are interested in going to COP, the NCCC has, I think I should just quickly drop this, has opened the portal for accreditation, right? So if you need to get accredited to go for COP, that is ongoing right now. So I will just um say you should check out NCCC and see how the process of accreditation gets to. So for things like COP, why should they create a table for the youth at the table? What is the importance of youth engagement, right? Number one is, like I said, innovation. Youth are always the one bringing innovation. Without us, everybody will still think climate change is really planting trees, which is important. Don't get me wrong. Planting of trees is very key, is important, but we cannot sustain on just or planting of trees. We need to come up with innovations, right? Innovations, ideas, particularly renewable energy, recycling, sustainable agriculture. There are so many fantastic. In fact, recently I've been meeting a lot of fantastic smart agricultural ideas, right? That will help you predict the kind of soil, that will help you reduce water, that will help you to plant whole year. So different smart climate tech agricultures, and these are innovations, right? And this is why government need to engage us. Youth are the one that will come up with these innovations. Youth are the one that will come with these ideas, lovely ideas. Without using if we have group of, I don't want to call them, let's just say other age people, they come into the room, they will have their experience. The experience is good, right? They will think of fantastic, ways of experience that they've done things, right? It might be good, but it will be missing that innovation part of it, to make it faster, right? And that's where we come into it, right? Into the plan to help come up with innovations, ideas that will hasten it, that will fast track those ideas, right? Another thing is advocacy for stronger policies. Like I said, if we don't read those policies, we will not see that this policy cannot work. This policy is weak. This policy is not capturing everything, right? And most of the time, it's the youth that does this, right? It's the youth that will tell us that, okay, you know what, this is not inclusive enough. We have some group of people that have been left out. We have some group of probably part of the country that has been left out. We have some group of individuals that have been left out, right? Mostly it is the youth that will sit down, youth movements, right? Like this kind of event, this kind of program we are currently in. These are kind of that's why it's very important, right? Imagine in some of this session we review these policies. Then we can spot some ideas in us that, what, this policy is good, but you know what, this was done in 2019. This is 2024. We need to review it and add more things with it. A lot of things have happened. They've been COVID since 2019. We have COVID. Are you telling us that COVID did not affect the policy? How has COVID affect the policy? What can we do to improve the policy? This is one of the roles, and this is important for, and one of the reasons why it's important for them to engage us, because it's we use that can see some of these things and advise government that, this policy is obsolete. We need to think about it again. The same way, everybody has been talking about the Nigeria Constitution since 1999. It's time for us to review it. There are a lot of group of people that have been left out of it, right? And if you see some people that have been shouting about we reviewing the Constitution of Nigeria, it is the youth, right? Because it is our time, and this is going to affect us more, right? The generation of our mothers, our parents, they are already getting older. The effect of it is going to be more on us, right? So we need to be very proactive, and they need to engage us, because we are the ones seeing what is needs for us in the future, right? It's one of the major important things that we need to do. Community involvement. Community involvement is very important, because there's nothing we can achieve if we don't achieve it in a cluster mind setting, right? We need to approach it in a cluster way. We need to let community be on board. Communities need to be involved in policy formulation, and this is very important. When policies are being done most of the time, all those rural communities are not even being considered most of the time, right? It's just mostly about the cities and all. We don't think far end about the communities. What about people that can't read and write? What about people that can't use some of these, computers? What are the people that can't, understand what climate change is all about? What are people that don't even know if there's anything called climate change? We consider them, right? This is why it's very important that youth like us, they engage youth like us, because look at most of the movement that we have right now that is going into the communities to educate communities in their own language about climate change. They are all youths. Most of them, okay, let me say all, but majority are youths, right? So it is very important that we are being brought to the table to discuss and to engage us in this policy implementation. Don't implement this policy without the youth. Don't get ahead to say you want to achieve this without the youth, because at the end of the day, cause that will drive most of this policy. So it is very important to do this. Then capacity building. The last but not the least, capacity building. And this goes two ways, right? These organizations play roles in building capacity for peer-to-peer learning. I've always been an advocate for peer-to-peer learning. In fact, they know me in my office. The best way for you to learn in this whole world, from to me, there might be other ways, but to me, is peer-to-peer learning. Imagine just like this kind of session. Let's see someone in the group chat. Um, let's say Jennifer Paul now, right? Let's say I meet Jennifer Paul now. She's my friend. She has read the policy. I've read the under policy, right? If she just sit down casually, maybe over a drink or over pepper soup, and we're discussing about the policy. Oh, the policy does this. Public policy does that. It is easier for me to grasp it, and it's easier for me to understand it, because Jennifer has read it. She understood it. She's not breaking it down like a gist to me. So I learn it faster. So without me even learning the policy, I already know what policy is all about, right? So it is very, 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 very important to have a peer-to-peer learning, to build ourselves, to build our capacity. If all of us don't build our capacity, how are we going to know what policy works or what policy doesn't work? So it's very important. That's why I appreciate the organizer of this project, right? This is a capacity building program, right? We are building our capacity. So when we are seeing policies that doesn't work, we can say, you know what, this policy doesn't work. Why? Because we build ourselves enough to know policies that work, or to know what can work or might not work, right? So it is very, 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 very important that we build our own capacity. And that is why most of the time youth are not being engaged, because I've been in rooms, right? That maybe I've been lucky enough because of probably where I work to be in rooms where some of these policies are being drafted. And youth are not really being in the room. And if they ask you, they will tell you that, oh, the youth are busy on TikTok, they're all on Instagram. The only thing they know is Instagram and all this kind of thing, right? And sometimes it's funny because some of our youth too don't make it easier for us to make a case for them, because they don't even pick interest in things like climate change, right? So if they can't talk about climate change, how are they going to bring them to the table? So we need to build our capacity. You need to, in your own little ways, in your own little, when you are having your pepper soup talk, your pepper soup gist after watching ball, right? This is weekend after watching the Premier League. Just put one or two things about climate change in the conversation. Let them know what is happening in the best subtle way. The best way to talk about climate change is when you are relaxed and just listening about it. That this like to my friend, climate change not be easy to know. It's happening in our eyes like this. But if you know, say if you know on this light, or if you know if you off your light, if you're not using it, you are helping the climate change. Like it's as simple as that. Or guy, they like my friend knows me. If you're in my car or whatever you're around me, don't throw your nylon away. In fact, I used to tell them in my car, if you're in my car, if you eat anything, drop it in my car. The biscuit nylon, the whatever nylon, the bottle of the drop it in my car. When I get home, I'll dispose it. But don't roll down the windows and throw it out. It's as simple as that. If that is what you'll be doing as a youth, to encourage them to build their capacity to know what they are meant to do is enough, right? So do in your own little way, build everybody's capacity, and one way or the other will be brought to the table. Because of time and I have other engagements, I think I'll be stopping here. But I believe that the few things I've shared with us, if we can, find one way or the other to implement this and build our capacity and do all of these things, we are halfway to helping governments, implement these policies. And again, don't forget, if you don't build your policy, you will not be able to. If you don't build yourself or your capacity, you will not be able to support the policy that is good or the one that is not good, and you will not be able to advise how to implement it. So build yourself first. If you don't get anything from this session, build yourself first to know how to help implement these policies. I can speak. I've been on different platforms, on TV stations to talk about implementation. The reason why I can talk about it is because I've built my capacity to a certain level, right? But I can't do it alone. The organizer cannot do it alone. You need people like you to build your capacity so that when it's time to implement those policies, you can talk, I can talk, and I can achieve a whole lot of things. All right, I think I'll give time for questions, very few questions, and I think maybe the moderator can help me to answer some of these questions. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwatosin. So there are actually a few questions here. The first one is from Amarachi Doris, and she's asking, what technological innovation do you think the youth in Nigeria should work towards creating so as to adapt to and mitigate the impact of climate change? You're muted, sir.
I said this question is quite funny, and I don't even know how to go about answering it because the truth is I can't even limit it as much as we can. But let me just break it down to an extent. There is a lot in agriculture, right? Think of technology in agriculture. That is one of the real good that we'll be having in the next few years. Agriculture, renewable energy. In the next few years, it will not even be an option. It will be a must, right? So invest in technology in agriculture and renewable energy. Water is also part of it, right? Some innovative way of using water also. But please, agriculture, renewable energy, and circular economy, we cannot run away from it.
Thanks, sir. So the next question is from Catherine Ame, and she says, which is more significant when it comes to climate change, the causes of climate change? Is it human activities or natural causes?
Oh, it's natural, is human activities. No, I think I mentioned this. Please don't get me wrong. Is the in fact the bulk of what's causing climate change right now is human activities. I just mentioned that there is natural cause because everybody always leaves that part of it out of their presentation. Nobody talks about the natural cost of it. There's natural cost of it, right? But most of it is human activities. Do you know that breeding animals too creates a lot of climate change, carbon dioxide? Cows, herds, and all those things. Rearing them really, it's crazy hard to climate change because of what they eat. Some of the things they eat help them to emit a lot of carbon dioxide to the environment. So things like this are most importantly one of the reasons why we have climate change right now, right? So yes, it's mostly human activities.
All right, thanks, sir, for sharing that. So Ibrahim Husseini is actually asking for more light on the recent Maiduguri flood and the fact that it is less of climate change. So I believe he's asking that, okay, if it's not climate change, what exactly happened?
All right. Uh, It's not climate change. What happened is really the dam. So the dam infrastructure was weak. So there's it's more or less like a collapse of dam, or the dam has some leakages, right? So it wasn't, and they've been giving some, they've been giving them some hints that this dam needs repair. It needs repairs. It needs, what's it called, renovation and all those things. But Nigerian governments, I don't want to talk about anything government. Sometimes we can be very like lackadaisical about things like that. So it was being ignored, and it led to the collapse of the dam. Sometimes dam gets filled, like the one in Cameroon, it gets filled and all those kind of things, right? But it's not climate change. Some of it might be climate change, right? Maybe the drainage and all those kind of things. But what is happening in Maiduguri right now, bulk of it is not climate change. It's mostly because of the weak dam.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. So there are actually still quite a number of questions.
All right,
Um,
let me take about three more.
Okay. So one is also from Paul, and he's saying in regards to Nigeria's pledge to the Paris Agreement and the whole commitment, is it possible that the steps that Nigeria said would take and happen, are these steps actually functional? Is it possible that we're able to meet the expectations?
All right. I can't tell you a yes or no right now, because we will have to sit down and review the policy one by one to get the answer. But the truth is, I won't say the government is not doing some number of things. Um, the last administration started something called the Energy Transition um, Plan or programs. Yeah, and they are really doing a lot, right? There have been some initiative here and there, but the truth is we can do more, right? For how fast climate change is going, we need to do more, right? So we can do more. The government is doing quite a number of things. Can we achieve it? I would just say that we still have about 6 years. So it depends on what we do between now and the next 6 years that will determine if we'll be able to achieve that.
Thanks, sir. So the second to the last question is from Pima Usman, and he says, how can we as youth advocates effectively engage policymakers to ensure that our voices are not only heard, but also actively considered in the implementation of climate policies?
All right. Number one, build your capacity, like I said. Let them know that you know what you are talking about. Let them know that you know what you are saying. Right. So once you do that, right, you then need to start attending some of these programs or some of these events. And another thing is we also need to hold our representative um accountable, right? Um, in Nigeria, it doesn't happen a lot, and I think that's one of the major problems we have. Your House of Representatives and your senators are representing you in the House of Rep, where they do most of these policies, right? Many of us need to start attending some of those town hall meetings. Need to start writing to those representing us and letting them know the urgency of doing some of these things, right? Some states have been, some representatives have been talking because some of their people have reaching out to them that climate change is this and climate change is that. Then another thing is many of us have a social media platform. You have followers, you have good followers. Start pushing, tagging them, right? When you get to a point, they can't ignore all of us. If all of us keep tagging them, speaking in one language that you need to do this, you need to do that, right? They will not eventually ignore us. So, but first thing first, build your own capacity so that when you get to that table, you don't start saying rubbish, because they will question you, they will probe you, and you have to answer the right way for them to take you serious. The problem is that they don't take we use serious, and sometimes it's because of some of we use do. We don't, show trait of being serious, right? So they don't take us serious. But if you can change the narration, you start taking things serious, hit the nail on the head, and start speaking the right times. They will listen to us in the long run.
Okay, so the last question is actually from Emmanuel Enimo, and it's a very interesting one. It says the idea of profiting from climate change is good, but don't you think that it might sabotage genuine intention towards the mitigation and adaptation efforts once there's no profit coming in?
Again, this is a very, very good question. And I think we need to understand that the why I mentioned is being profitable. There is nothing that can survive as a CSR. There is nothing that can survive with grants. Take $10,000 here, take $5,000 there. Nothing can survive with it. Any industry that is built right now and is existing and is still working well right now is because of investment that has been put into it. Nobody will put investment into something that is not profitable. Now, what we need to do is to have strike a balance to know where we don't, choose profits over sustainability or over our environment. But it doesn't make sense if you, I think it's Emmanuel that asked that question. If you as Emmanuel don't have money to run your campaigns, don't have money to run your project that is climate, right? Will you achieve anything? You can't achieve much, right? Because in the long run, you need funding. Programs like this, I don't know the funding structure, but I'm still sure they still have to do for donors, sponsors, because no matter the good intention you have in this whole world, without financing, nothing is going to happen. Climate change is expensive. In fact, climate change is one of the most expensive things because you are transitioning people from their conventional ways of acting to a new way, and they are not going to respond to it if they can't see value in it. And we have to create value. You can't create value if you don't show people that there is money in this thing. And making money is not a bad thing. I even religiously, be it Muslim or Christian, making money is not a bad thing. It is greed that make people think money, making profits or making money is a bad thing. It's greed that we have in us. Making money is not. You can be changing the planet and making money. There are people doing great things and making money in this climate space. They are curbing, saving so many greenhouse emissions, but they are still billionaires and billionaires. Is that not a good thing? We don't like to join them, knowing that you are saving the planet and you are still becoming rich. That's what I'm advocating for, right? Just need to have a balance a balanced how will I put this now? A balanced situation that you know what I will not say at the point maybe I have to choose between profit and environment and I choose profit more than environment. Then that way I ruin the environment. You just need to have that moral standard as a sustainability person that you are, champion that you are. But please let's make sure that we always talk about climate space being a profitable space. And please, it is profitable. I've seen people become millionaires, billionaires from this sector, and we can be one of them. Don't always go as just sustainability or just CSR. Don't always go. It's good. It's one of the best things. CSR and all there's always going to be that component and it's good. But please, at the back of your mind, also be a little bit of a businessman so that in the long run, you will see your ideas, your company, your business will stay in business. If you start a movement today, let's say Emmanuel Climate Movement, if after 2 years you don't have any donor, you don't have any financiers, we'll not hear you again because survival is also important. You will not see you think of how to eat and how to drink now. You will not think of planet anymore, right? So it is very important that you think of the finance, where the finance is coming from. And that is why I'm been saying is that we need to be very involved in decision making. Let governments, let countries commit to giving funding to climate space. We cannot do anything without funding. I've been in this space for 6 years. I can tell you one of the major things that is limiting us from doing more than what we can do right now is because of funding. If we have more funding, we'll reach more people. We can't go into that community to do that awareness without money. Is it not money that will take you to those communities, right? So please, it is very important. Make profits from, when I mean make profits, please, in the right time. I'm not saying you should leverage on and cheat people. Sell and make small profits that can keep you running. All right.
Thank you so
Uh,
much, sir.
what I'll do is that in the comment box now, I'll drop my LinkedIn um LinkedIn name. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I can answer your question. I think Okoyemi also reaches me through LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, if you have other questions, you can reach out to me, connect with me. And there are some other sessions. Then my organization also do a lot of things in climate space. So you can reach out to me to know how we can get into some of the programs that we do. Right. So that is my name, Oluwatosin Ajide MBA. Look for me on LinkedIn and I can connect and I can answer some of the questions. I'm quite very busy, but again, I'll dedicate few times to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for
All
coming on
right.
and
The
sharing
name of
your.
my organization, let me just quickly drop it. Nigeria Climate Innovation Center. I know the question that many of us will ask is it government organization? We are not government. We just have that name, Nigeria. It's totally private. Although we advise government on so many of these policies, we do a lot of things with government, but we are not owned by government. It is totally privately run, and it was being established by the World Bank in 2018. All right, thank you, everyone. I really have another engagement right now that I might need to step out, so I might have to drop off soon. But thank you. It was a very, very nice meeting all of you. And I hope one day I'll be able to meet you all physically. If I'm in your town, if I'm in your city, or maybe in an event, please, you can walk up to me, introduce yourself to me, and tell me that you met me on this platform. Then I'll relate with you better. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, organizers, for having me. Bolu, Opeyemi. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
Thanks so much, sir, for coming on board once again. And I think that's been a very, very insightful session. Thank you also for asking all of the questions. And yes, you're allowed to drop off right now.